Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers and very happy to have you here today. It is Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, and the NBA play-in tournament begins tonight. Pair of games, Cleveland and Brooklyn, the first one in the East. Winner gets the 7 seed, and they'll face Boston in the opening round. And then in the West, it's the Clippers and the Timberwolves. And the winner of that game will face the Memphis Grizzlies, and then the losers will play the winners of tomorrow's games, Charlotte, Atlanta, followed by San Antonio and New Orleans. And we will preview those games with one of the top handicappers of Vegas Insider, Joe Nelson, who we bring on right now. Joe, good to see you again. We had you on during March Madness. So now that the college basketball season is over, we transition to the NBA. So lot to go over. Good to see you again. How are you?
Good. How are you, Kevin?
Doing well. And let's get right to it, Joe. Tonight, Cavs and Nets, first game out of the gate. And obviously a lot of people didn't think Brooklyn would be playing in the play-in tournament. They would be a little bit higher in the East, but this is what they have. But still, you get 2 shots if you're the Nets. You have tonight. If you somehow lose tonight, you get the winner of Charlotte, Atlanta. So Brooklyn still in pretty good shape to get into the playoffs. But Brooklyn, a terrible team as far as covering the numbers this year, especially at home. They covered 9 games this season. I think they were 2-21 against the spread. Their final 23 as a home favorite. What are your thoughts here on this one? Do you think Cleveland can hang, or all those numbers mean nothing and Brooklyn can run them out?
Yeah, I don't put a ton of stock in the against the spread stats, and any season data is really hard to think about with Brooklyn this year. They went through so many different changes and different lineups over the course of the year. It is a game you have a recent meeting for. These teams just played last Friday. It was kind of a wild back and forth game, some big swings in that one. Cleveland made a big third quarter run, took the lead. Brooklyn wound up winning by 11 with a big, plus 16 fourth quarter to go in front, winning and covering. The line in that game, 8.5, which is where this game was yesterday. We've seen it move to 9.5 this morning. The Nets still, I think they're a very formidable team. The futures marketplace certainly agrees. And, you could maybe make the argument that Brooklyn's path might be better, being that 8th spot, getting Miami potentially, and then, looking at Boston, Milwaukee. It's a good team. I think you can make the case the numbers maybe high. The meeting on Friday, Brooklyn had a substantial rebounding edge that I don't think you can really expect to be repeated. Most of the shooting numbers were pretty fair, so I would say it's a fairly, a reasonable outcome. But I don't know if that rebounding edge is something you can count on again. But like I said, it's not a true elimination game. Certainly the ceiling on this Brooklyn team is really high. Cleveland, we'll see what they bring to this. This was a team that looked like a contender November, December. No Jared Allen now. That's obviously a big blow for them. Looks like Seth Curry's going to play for Brooklyn tonight. Hard to go against Brooklyn, but I would say maybe 9.5 is getting a little too high. Wouldn't be surprised if that the final comes pretty darn close to that number.
What expectations do you have, Joe, for Brooklyn if they can get out of this game tonight, and then now you start fresh with a 7-game series? I mean, they win tonight, they play Boston, and like you mentioned, if they lose and they got to play again on Friday and they win that one, they get Miami in the 1-8. But what do you think is the more favorable matchup for the Nets if they can escape this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Nets, I'd rather play Miami, but you're certainly not going to put yourself at risk to have an elimination game later in the week versus Atlanta or Charlotte, who are, 2 teams that are, have a lot of variance, can really shoot the ball on certain nights. So you don't want to, there's going to be no thought of, let's lose this one and, try to have a path against Miami, obviously. But Boston's playing as well as anyone down the stretch. I think they're definitely a serious contender. I think the way things shook out for them, they're going to have a tougher road than Milwaukee. Milwaukee's going to have, a very easy series against Chicago, I'd imagine. The Bulls have been, forget the playoff field. They've been one of the worst teams in the NBA the last 2 months. So I think, big advantage for Milwaukee heading to that 2-3 series that could line up for those teams. Nets Boston could be a really good series.
Yeah, and also the other note too, the Celtics and Nets, the two times they played at Barclays Center, Brooklyn was like cleaned out. They didn't have any of their players. Then the game in Boston was a really good one. That Sunday afternoon a few weeks ago went back and forth, and then that was the game Jason Tatum went off, and Boston ended up winning that game. But should be interesting if Brooklyn gets past this one. Now let's look at the second game tonight, Joe. This one is really, really interesting because Minnesota played LA 3 times in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. The Timberwolves were 4-9 out of the gate. All right, same old Timberwolves. Then they got it together. They eventually beat LA in the final meeting, which Paul George didn't play in, and Karl Anthony Towns also didn't play in that game too. But Minnesota turned it around. They can score. Clippers went this whole season without Kawhi, went a lot of the way without Paul George, still got into the tournament. But the Timberwolves here laying a few points at home against the Clippers. LA was almost in the finals last year. What do you think about this game between these two?
Yeah, as you said, interesting matchup. I think the head-to-head games you just can throw out. As you mentioned, the 3 Clippers wins all in November when Minnesota was kind of finding its rhythm. A team that really improved dramatically, wound up being the number 1 scoring average team in the NBA. Defense wasn't great, but it was better than it's been in most recent years under Finch. And as he said, the January meeting was with some key players out on both sides. It's hard to make sense of what this Clippers team is. As he said, George only played 30-some games and only 5 since December. You've got Norman Powell, who's played 5 games for the team, and he's going to be a key player tonight for them. Covington joined in February, so it's a roster that's really turned over a lot. Played really well down the stretch. They've won 6 of their last 7 to close the season to get in this position. Big scoring numbers. You look at the schedule and you can throw away a few of those games. They put up 150 against the Bucks with a bunch of guys resting for Milwaukee. So I don't know that there's really meaningful wins in that late season run. They're an intriguing team. We'll see if Kennard goes tonight. I know he has a hamstring injury, so a key 3-point shooter for them. But yeah, it's a team that hasn't played together much. Whereas you have a Wolves team that didn't do much at the trade deadline, has been intact the whole year with this roster, minus some injury stretches for Russell in particular. But looks like they've got everyone to go tonight. A concern would be turnovers. It is a Wolves team that does turn the ball over a lot, and the defense did slip a bit. They were kind of a middle of the pack defense for a lot of the year, and down the stretch did slip in some of those numbers. Not a team that has any sort of history of success in the postseason. As someone that grew up a Timberwolves fan, my optimism is low for a big run, but I do like them a little bit tonight. I think it's just a more cohesive group. There should be some good fan support for a rare playoff game for this team, and pretty short number for Clippers team making a trip on the road for a group that just hasn't played together too much.
Yeah, and you mentioned, with this Timberwolves team, Joe, that Karl Anthony Towns, first appearance in the playoffs, Anthony Edwards. I mean, there's some really good young players in this Minnesota team, and even D'Angelo Russell, who's bounced around a little bit, still a good scorer. And yeah, you wonder if Paul George can do what he did after Kawhi got hurt last year in that Jazz series, just carry this team. I just don't know if there's enough around Paul George to go on a sustained run, much less not even past tonight, but just a sustained run. I don't know if they could do that again.
Yeah, I think it's, anything can happen in one game in this format. So it is an exciting matchup. I'm looking forward to watching it. I don't see bright prospects for either of these teams making much of a run against Memphis or Phoenix potentially. But it's, a great opportunity for Minnesota, a team potentially on the rise in the next few years. But yeah, Paul George is one of those guys. He can have big games, obviously carried the team to a nice run last year. So we'll see. But yeah, it's I lean slightly to Minnesota, but confidence is never too high with the Wolves in a big game.
I'm with you on Minnesota, actually. I think that they come out tonight and play well, and the Clippers will then get relegated to Friday at home. But let's look at tomorrow's games, the 9-10 games. This one is very interesting, this Hornets-Hawks game, Joe, because I look at Charlotte, and last year they got into the play-in game against Indiana. They had lost 5 straight. They weren't playing well. Indiana blew them out. This time, they've won 4 straight. They're getting more points against this Atlanta team that everyone knows got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And, you could say what you want about the Hawks run. They still got there. Maybe they're a little bit phony getting that far. I like Charlotte in this game. I think Charlotte hangs. I think Charlotte can win this game. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would lean towards Charlotte and the points there. It feels like one where you look at a recreational fan and you see Atlanta as a short home favorite price. I don't dig too much into some of the betting percentages and marketplace numbers as terms of proportion of bets and things like that. But I imagine, the Hawks are getting healthy support tonight at a pretty short number. But yeah, these are both teams that can really shoot. Charlotte, just a really high variance team. They will shoot 45% from 3 one night and then 20% the next night. Both teams take good care of the ball. The one concern for me with liking Charlotte, Atlanta is such a good free throw shooting team, and they have the lowest turnover rate in the NBA this year. But they don't force turnovers on defense. So yeah, I think Charlotte can hang here. I think this will be a good game. I mean, the regular season meetings were all pretty competitive games, split all around. Each team won in both buildings. So I think this will be a good game. These are 2 kind of fun teams to watch. To oversimplify, good offenses, bad defenses, I think it'll be one that could come down to the final couple minutes here.
Do you have any thoughts on the total? 3 of the 4 meetings went under this year. Last meeting, 240.5 was 116.106. Before that, 233 was 113.91. So they weren't even close on some of these totals. But now 236 in the playing game. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, adjusted downward a bit from the recent meeting in March, which isn't too big of a surprise given the stakes. You've got a elimination situation. So yeah, I would gravitate towards the under a little bit, even at that depressed number. As he said, on the balance, the head-to-heads were a bit lower scoring than the projections. So these teams know each other well. They don't make a lot of mistakes on as far as turnovers. Going to be a lot of 3-point looks, and I think in a game of this magnitude with the stakes, you probably see slightly depressed shooting percentages, I would guess.
Now, the final play-in game, Joe, we'll look at Spurs and Pelicans tomorrow in New Orleans, and obviously the 2 worst teams left in the field. And San Antonio dropped 3 straight to close out the season, but they've covered 9 of 10. And New Orleans, they got off to that terrible start. They were 2-15, whatever it was, and under Willie Green, and somehow they got it together. They got C.J. McCollum at the trade deadline from Portland. No Zion this year. I looked at New Orleans' numbers down the stretch, Joe, and I think it was 11 wins they had, 11 straight-up wins as a favorite. None of the teams they beat were any quality teams. They beat Chicago without DeRozan. They came back from 20 down against the Lakers. They beat Houston a lot, and Portland and Sacramento, a lot of those teams. But the Spurs did win twice in New Orleans. You think the Spurs can do it again and go back to New Orleans as a dog and win again there?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, both teams, played their way into this position, playing well down the stretch. As you said, New Orleans, you look at the efficiency numbers from New Orleans down the stretch, they're really good, but you can be really skeptical of that schedule. As you said, beating up on some lesser teams. So, yeah, I'm with you and with some skepticism with them. And they're another team that kind of completely rebuilt itself middle of the season, bringing in McCollum. Herbert Jones had a nice rookie season for them. And it's been, both teams started out terrible. Spurs also started, I think, 4-13. I guess looking at the overall records, it's not like they've really lit things on fire from there, but to get in this position. But yeah, I like the Spurs as an underdog a little bit. It's a deep group that played through a lot of injuries late in the season, a lot of different rosters. So they've got, I think, a lot of guys that contribute. And, when it comes down to it, you've got Popovich still there. And, you can trust they're going to have a good game plan. And, they were in this spot last year as well. So some experience with the new format, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. If Charlotte and San Antonio tomorrow both lost in the play-in tournament, and San Antonio hung with Memphis in that game, and then Memphis ended up beating Golden State in overtime. But now you wonder with them, the Clippers weren't in the spot last year. The Nets weren't in the spot. So now you kind of wonder with these teams if it means anything that they were here or not. Obviously, we know the Hornets and the Spurs are kind of, right on the outside looking in. They're not exactly like sold playoff teams. I want your thoughts on this, Joe, before we let you go. anything this weekend, we have 4 certain series we know about: Utah, Dallas, Toronto, Philadelphia, Denver, Golden State, Chicago, Milwaukee. Anything stick out to you, at least early on, maybe a game 1 lean or a series lean? You already said you like the Bucks over the Bulls, but anything stick out to you from those series?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll be lane 10 with Milwaukee in each of those games, but yeah, I don't see Chicago competing very well. Yeah, the Utah series is interesting. Well, we'll see with Luka's injury, what's going to happen there. So, I know we talked last week about the Jazz, not really looking the part of their season numbers lately. So, but yeah, the injury there could change things. We'll get more info on that. So yeah, I mean, I've been playing against the Bulls a lot this year, and I mean, they I don't give them much of a shot in that one. But yeah, should be some good action there. I think things have lined up pretty well for the Bucks in the East. Given what Boston's going to have to go through.
And also, I guess finally, you're waiting on Golden State with Steph Curry because that one is still up in the air. I mean, Denver with Jokic, with Murray not coming back, and feels like it's Jokic and a lot of other guys. But I guess you give Denver a little shot if Steph isn't right.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a team that's going to, not have had that group for a while. So, Denver they play a lot of close games. Against good teams and bad teams. So I think they'll have a chance to hang in there. They'll probably be a team I'll look to, take with the points, in a few of those spots.
Joe Nelson, you could find him on Vegas Insider, one of the top handicappers there. We talked to him during March Madness, and he's been all over the NBA for years, not just this year, but for years. And you check out his NBA picks, his baseball picks, all of that on Vegas Insider. Joe, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it as always, and we'll talk to you again soon during the playoffs.
Sounds good, Kevin. Best of luck.
All right, you too. Thank you. That is Joe Nelson, and always good talking to him. And look, these games coming up tonight and tomorrow, I like the favorites tonight. I think, 9.5 is steep, but you still have the 2 best players on the floor with Brooklyn. Minnesota, that game against the Clippers, I don't know how much I trust what's around Paul George. And I know they have Covington there and Norman Powell. They have some guys that could score, some guys that could fill it up. But past Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns, at times unstoppable. Anthony Edwards, we know he could blow up. They have some nice pieces around them. D'Angelo Russell, he can score as well. I lean towards Minnesota. The games tomorrow, I've gone back and forth in the Spurs Pelicans game. Because San Antonio 9-1 against the spread the last 10. They've won the last 2 times at New Orleans. I'm still kind of torn. I'm going to have my best bet video coming out in a little bit on YouTube, and I'll finally come to a decision on that one. But New Orleans lane 5 does say a lot at home. Spurs still a 34-48 team. And I know New Orleans cleaned up against a lot of garbage late, but I don't want to take away from what they've done since the horrible start they had to the season. I just want to get the number right here. Brandon Ingram's playing in this game. This is their season on the line. He's not going to not play. New Orleans started what? They were 1-12 out of the gate, New Orleans. So 1-12 would make them 35-34 the last 69 games for New Orleans. So they're about a 500 team, except for that horrible start. And they didn't even have Zion Williamson. CJ McCollum came midseason from Portland. So you have 2 legit scorers in Ingram and McCollum. And then you look at San Antonio, DeJounte Murray. He was a little sick towards the end of the season. So we'll see how he responds here. Still San Antonio's best player. There's some pieces on San Antonio. New Orleans is the better team when you look at some of the players they have. I know the better coach is Popovich. Willie Green's in his first year with the Pelicans. That Charlotte Atlanta game, I still like Charlotte. I like them I said 4 in a row. They'd won 3 in a row to close out the season, so I'll get that stat straight. But I still think with Charlotte playing in that play-in game last year against Indiana and just getting blitzed out of the gate, and that game was a total blow. I gave 140-something points to the Pacers. Then now, and they were getting like 2 in that game. Again, 4.5 because Atlanta, the reputation on them is what they did last year, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I just think Charlotte's got a shot here. I really do. And Gordon Hayward didn't play. I mean, he's been hurt for a while for the Hornets. But when you look at, I'm just trying. I needed to just get a refresher on this game from last year. So they lost 144-117 to Indiana last year in the play-in game, getting 1.5. And in that one, Terry Rozier was 0 for 9 from 3. They were 12 of 40 from 3. It was LaMelo Ball's first playoff game. I don't know what the play-in tournament means as far as a playoff game or not. But Indiana wasn't even that great of a team either last year. Sabonis had a big game. He's obviously not there anymore, but it doesn't matter. Indiana's not in. But Charlotte, though, they had a bad finish to last season. They actually went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They went 2-9 their final 11 games last year to be relegated to the play-in game. They went 33-39. So it wasn't even that great of a season. 72 games. Obviously, you had the season shifted around because of what happened in 2020. But Charlotte had a terrible finish to the season. Where this year Charlotte played better towards the end. Since March 11th, the Hornets went 2, 3, 4, 5-1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 7, 2, 8, 2, 8, 3, 8, 4, 9, 4, 10, 4, 11-4. So total opposite what the Hornets did to close out last year compared to what they did this year. 11-4, the final 15 games of this year. And the losses came to Miami, Philadelphia, Denver. They had a bad loss to the Knicks at home. I think the Hornets got a shot. I really do. I really like them against Atlanta. So my favorite play of the 4, perhaps. Yes, the Pelicans thing. The only reason why I want to lean towards the Pelicans is, man, they're laying 5 to the San Antonio team where they lost to twice already, laying 5. And now they're doing it again. Everyone knows San Antonio is 9-1, ATS last 10. I'm going to go with, I think I may lean towards New Orleans in that one. All right, I want to look at some baseball now since we didn't really talk about it so far today, and we got a whole load of baseball games. So let's get right to it. All right. The Cubs and the Pirates, we'll roll right through these. That game coming up at 4:12. At 4:12 at PNC Park. Why? Because today's April 12th, and Pittsburgh's area code is 412. That's why. So there you go on that one. Drew Smyly, Jose Quintana on the mound. Quintana facing his old team. I dug up this stat. This was interesting. Quintana's made 33 appearances since 2020. 33, not 33 starts, 33 appearances. He has 0 wins in that time frame. I was about to say span, slot. I got all my words confused. So Quintana starting for the Pirates. Drew Smyly was with the Braves last year, with the Cubs now. Chicago won 2 of 3 against Milwaukee. They blew a 3-0 lead in the finale. Pittsburgh lost the first 2 to St. Louis. They blew out the Cardinals on Sunday. They got rained out yesterday. So the Cubs a slight favorite here against the Pirates. Cross state in Philadelphia. The Mets were rolling past the Phillies last night. 4-0. Everything looked good. But then Philadelphia scored 5 in the 8th to shock New York, 5-4. And the Phillies now 3-1. The Mets are 3-2. Mets have dropped 2 straight. Former Met Zach Wheeler on the mound this evening for Philadelphia. And Zach Wheeler, interestingly enough, he has not started yet this year, so he gets his first start against his former team. And the Mets, who looked really good the first 3 games against Washington, they'll go with Tyler McGill, who started the opener because Jacob deGrom is hurt. So McGill will go tonight. He is an underdog. Last night, the Phillies were favored and won. We'll see if they do it again coming up tonight. Another National League East battle. Washington blew out Atlanta last night. So the Braves, a bit of a slow start for the defending world champion Braves. Both teams are 2-3 now. And the Nationals, they will send out Patrick Corbin tonight. Corbin was disastrous last year. And for the Braves, who, look, they've had their struggles as well, as far as, pitching early on. It was, Ian Anderson went. He wasn't good. Bryce Elder is going to go for Atlanta tonight. And the Braves, they've scored a total of 7 runs the last 3 games. So the offense struggling a bit now in this first year without Freddie Freeman. Now Matt Olson's over there, but the Braves heavy favorite after they lost last night. Padres and Giants from San Francisco. And San Diego's 4-1. They should be 5-0 because they blew that game to Arizona in the opener when the Diamondbacks hit that walk-off. But the Padres have won 4 straight. They've gone under 4 times, so the pitching has been really good. And they've given up in 3 of the last 4, 2 or less. They beat the Giants last night 4-2. They were a substantial dog. Now, Pick'em area with Yu Darvish going. Yu Darvish had 6 no-hit innings. His first start at Arizona, but the Padres bullpen couldn't hold that. Lost 4-2 to Arizona in that opener. The Giants have alternated wins and losses in their first 4, coming off the 4-2 defeat last night. Offense not great. 2-3-1 the last 3 games after scoring 6 in the opener. So you have Alex Cobb, the former Oriole, former Angel. He will start tonight for the Giants. Trying to pick them 110. So that's the 9:45 game, the late game in the National League. Now to the some of the games in the afternoon in the American League. Actually, we got 2 afternoon games. Red Sox and Tigers in Detroit. Rich Hill and Tyler Alexander, a pair of lefties on the mound. Boston 1-3. They lost the first 2 to the Yankees. Won Sunday night. Lost to the Tigers yesterday, 3-1. So the Red Sox offense trying to get on track today. Detroit's offense hasn't done much since that opener. They won 5-4. They came back and beat the White Sox 2-1-3. So not spectacular for the Tigers, but Tyler Alexander, his first start of the season. Last year, he was 2-4, showed some flashes at times, closed the season with a couple solid performances, allowed 1 earned run each of his last 2 starts to close out last year. Rich Hill, who has been around the block many times, and he's getting the start here for the Red Sox, Massachusetts native. He is 42 years old. Let me do my math. 42. Sorry, it took me a second. 42 years old for Rich Hill, and he was with the Mets last year and with the Rays. Now he's starting for his hometown Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox a slight favorite against the Tigers this afternoon. Also, the other Sox are playing this afternoon. The White Sox, and the Mariners in Chicago, and Seattle at 2-2. They started 2-0. They got shut out by the Twins last night. They are now 2 straight losses for Seattle, 4-0 loss to the Twins. White Sox, after losing that opener to the Tigers, they've won 2 straight, 15 runs scored in the last 2 for Chicago. Vince Velasquez, the former Philly, he goes the short favorite today for the White Sox. And for the Mariners, Matt Brash, he will go. What a name, Matt Brash. So he will start for Seattle today. The Mariners try to get on track after getting shut out last night. The Tampa Bay Rays, they were blown out by Oakland yesterday after Tampa Bay pulled off the 3-game sweep of Baltimore. A's were up 8-0 after 2 innings and totally ran them. Adam Oller will start for Oakland tonight, making his major league debut. And for the Rays, because Ryan Yarbrough got placed on the IL. Tommy Romero, he will start for Tampa Bay. So 2 pitchers you don't have a lot of track record on, but the A's, after starting 0-2, low expectations for them. 2 wins as plus 200 favorites back to back against the Phillies and Rays. So we'll see if Tampa Bay can rebound tonight after they got run last night for their first loss of the season. Blue Jays and the Yankees from New York, and the Blue Jays won last night. They shut out the Yankees 3-0. So a couple lefties tonight. Yusei Kikuchi, the former Mariner, he's making his Toronto debut. Nestor Cortez Jr. on the mound for the Yankees. And Toronto, after they blew that lead on Sunday to Texas, 12-6, They bounced back last night with the shutout. So Toronto will try to do it again tonight. Yankees have lost 2 in a row. Yankees have gone under the total in 3 straight. And Cortez, his numbers last year, 2-3, 2.90 ERA. So not too bad for Cortez. And he was a guy who had a lot of unders to close out last year. He won't go very long. Doesn't seem like he'll go very long in this game, but he's a slight favorite tonight. And let's now look at the interleague matchups. The Battle of Ohio. The Guardians of the Galaxy, they are in Cincinnati to take on the Reds. Really good pitching matchup here. Shane Bieber and Tyler Mahle. And Bieber didn't get out of the 5th inning his last start against Kansas City, but he pitched well, allowed 1 run. It really wasn't his fault because it was Ahmed Rosario out in left field, dropped an easy fly ball. Easy. He should have caught it. And the Royals ended up getting a runner on and then scoring the run. So that resulted in the first run for Kansas City. They got 2 runs later to win it 3-1. But the Guardians, though, at 2-2. So here's Cleveland's story so far. They scored 1 run the first 2 games against the Royals. Second game went to 10 innings. So 19 innings, they scored 1 run. The last 2 games, they've scored 27 runs. 17 on Sunday, 10 on Monday. So which Cleveland team is going to show up? That's the big question. But you have your ace in the mound. And for Cincinnati, they are playing their home opener. They scored 6 runs in 3 separate games against Atlanta. That's a good job considering the Reds. There were question marks about their lineup. Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez both went to Seattle in the offseason, and they've kind of struggled a bit with the Mariners. But the Reds still have Joey Votto, and their offense was decent. They got a couple nice wins, plus 160 dogs at Atlanta. Now Mahle goes again in basically a pick-em spot, both teams at 2-2. So they will get that thing going at 4:10 Eastern. The Brewers, what's going on with the Brewers? They lost twice to the Cubs this past weekend, needed to overcome a 3-0 deficit on Sunday to win. And then they lose to Baltimore. The Orioles, who were winless, the only winless team in the league. But yet Baltimore beat Milwaukee 2-0 yesterday. So the Brewers have been shut out twice so far this season. And Baltimore, they've not scored more than 3 runs in a game. But you know what? Brewers and Orioles both have the same record. I know it's early. I know. Forgive me, please. And today it is Eric Lauer will start for Milwaukee. Baltimore has no idea who they're starting, but the Brewers are substantial favorites. So that is less than shocking, to say the least. All right, a lot of interleague games. Marlins and the Angels, they play out in Anaheim. Mike Trout did not play last night, stomach bug, so he got scratched, but it didn't matter. The Angels still blew out the Marlins anyway. And this is kind of an odd 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific start. Marlins at 1-3, and this is their last game on the trip after they lost 2 of 3 at San Francisco. The Angels, they started the season 1-3. They played the Astros, but the 6-2 win last night, and it is Jesus Luzardo, the former A. He's on the mound for the Marlins. Patrick Sandoval on for the Angels, and we'll see if Mike Trout plays later on. So this will be interesting. If you have been to Minnesota or you live in Minnesota or Minneapolis, more specifically. So Target Center and Target Field, Target Center where the Timberwolves play and Target Field where the Twins play, they are like right next to each other in downtown Minneapolis. So you have the Clippers game going on and the Dodgers are in town right across the street. So it should be interesting. And the Wild are in St. Paul against the Oilers. So you got a big sports night in the Twin Cities with the 3 teams playing tonight. So you have, of all the times that the Dodgers are in town, the Clippers are playing the Timberwolves in a very important play-in tournament game. So Dodgers at 1-2. Twins at 2-2. Andrew Haney goes for LA tonight, the former Angel. And he pitched for the Yankees for a minute last year. Chris Archer, former Ray Pirate, who's kind of fallen off a bit. And Minnesota 2-2. Dodgers at 1-2. So they meet up in LA. They'll try to get on track tonight against Minnesota. The Show Me State battle, I-70 battle, Royals and the Cardinals. And St. Louis at or lane 160 here. The Cardinals, they didn't play yesterday. Game got postponed against the Pirates. Royals, who have struggled the last 2 days, I told you, 27 runs they allowed to Cleveland. So they're going to try to get back on track. Daniel Lynch for the Royals, the lefty. Dakota Hudson, who was supposed to pitch for the Cardinals yesterday, he goes today. And Daniel Lynch, he was a little bit all over the place last season when he started for the Royals, from what I remember, at least just pulling up the numbers. 4-6, 5.69 ERA. Wasn't great. He had some good starts as a big dog. Now, last year, Lynch won as a plus 225 dog at Houston, a plus 155 dog against Houston at home, a plus 135 dog against the Yankees, plus 175 dog against the White Sox. So he actually pitched well at times, but also he was awful in some games too last year. But he did not face St. Louis last season, but he has some good underdog wins. I thought he was up and down. So that's the that game there at St. Louis tonight. Rockies and the Rangers from Texas, and Colorado came back to beat Texas yesterday, a game that the Rangers were in control of. It seemed like they were in control of. But then Colorado got a few late runs. Colorado got a few in extras, and then one. The game ended on a tag play. They called the runner out at second, and Colorado's won 3 straight all of a sudden. So 3-1 to the under for the Rockies, and look at the totals: 11, 11.5, 11, 10.5. So another double-digit total tonight. And Texas, they've allowed 10, 4, 6, and 6 so far through their first 4 games. And Chad Cole, the former Pirate, he's going to start for the Rockies tonight. Martin Perez, he will go for Texas. And the final game, Astros and Diamondbacks from Arizona. Madison Bumgarner is going to start in place of Zach Gallen, who got scratched. Luis Garcia for Houston. And the Astros laying 150 here. Arizona, we told you about their struggles against San Diego earlier. Came back and beat the Padres in the first game of the season on that Seth Beer walk-off homer. But then they lost 3 straight. Now you draw the Padres and Astros out of the chute. And then Arizona's got to play the Mets after this at Citi Field. So not a promising start for the Diamondbacks, but they go with Madison Bumgarner, lasted 3 innings in his first start. And Luis Garcia, he won 11 games last year for the Astros, and in the playoffs, he got more of he was more of a spot guy, or at least pitching in relief. He can go 5-6 innings. That's what the Astros have. They have a few pitchers that can go like Framber Valdez, Urquidy, Garcia. These guys can go 6 or 7 innings. They really can. I mean, you still have Verlander too. But the Astros have guys that could stretch it out. Now, it just depends on how effective they'll be, but they can do that if needed. So Arizona trying to snap their losing streak, and Houston so far playing well. They've won 3 of their first 4 games. And the NHL tonight, you have a busy card. You had 1 game last night. Winnipeg beat Montreal, and then a whole bunch of games tonight. I don't understand it. But Tampa Bay's at Dallas. That's a pretty interesting game. Stars need to keep winning to get into the wild card, because Minnesota and St. Louis right now are tied for second in the Central. Panthers laying 450 to the Ducks. Maple Leafs laying over 400 to the Sabres. The Bruins line dropped a bit against the Blues. Boston still favored at home. Washington, I'll give you a good number here. So in Washington's last 15 games as a home favorite, they are 5-10. They've won 1 of those games by 2 goals or more. 1 of the last 15 as a home favorite. And the last 3 wins for the Capitals came against the Lightning, the Penguins, and the Bruins, all as a dog. Now you're laying 240 tonight against Philadelphia. I know Philadelphia's not good, but still, that's a heavy number for the Capitals to lay. Hurricanes and Rangers, that's a huge game at the Garden. Hurricanes a 2-point lead over the Rangers atop the Metro. So that's another big one. New York just beat Carolina and Raleigh a few weeks ago. Edmonton, Minnesota, another big one inside the West. The Wild have won twice in Edmonton this year. So you got some really good games inside the NHL. You got some stinkers too. I mean, Senators, Red Wings, Devils, Coyotes. There's some garbage games too, but you can make money off garbage games too. So that's the look at what's going on. A very busy day, so had to hit on all those games to just bring it back. And baseball season is here. So here's the story for the rest of the week on the Daily Insider. I am going out of town, and Stephanie Odie will fill in for me Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Also on Friday, Tommy Carroll will be on, Tommy Freeze Pops, as well as Devin Walker from MTV The Challenge. We have him on every other Friday. He did a great job during college basketball. And he's going to be on that Orioles train. He said the Orioles are a team to watch out for in the American League East. Fine. They beat Milwaukee yesterday. I'm sure they'll hit on that coming up on Friday. But Stephanie will be driving the bus the next few days, and I'll be back with you next Monday on the Daily Insider. So we are looking forward to that. My thanks to Joe Nelson for hopping on to talk NBA play-in tournament. Also, you could find our NBA play-in tournament videos as far as our best bets for Tuesday. It's on our YouTube channel, already at Vegas Insider. The Wednesday games will be up a little bit later on, so you could find that. And we'll be all set for the NBA playoffs starting up this weekend. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always, best of luck with your bets.